Leeds United made the most of their second chance in the European Cup against Stuttgart, the team they say has more foreign reserves than the Bank of England. Leeds won 2-1 in Barcelona in front of a tiny crowd. Their hero was Carl Schutt. He scored the winner less than a minute after coming on as a substitute, and tomorrow's his birthday.
Hello and welcome to Talking Shop Podcast, episode 190. And this is going to be a hard one, I think.
Yeah, depression session.
Yeah, proper one, and not for the first time this season, but yeah, I think this is probably the worst one.
I think the worst one because it was so hard to find any optimism going into this next run of games, I think. And I don't think anyone were expecting it, but I think it hurt more because of everything went on around us.
Yeah.
You know, the Everton win, which wasn't as surprising as the Burnley scoring 2 goals in 10 minutes, which I personally didn't see. I don't think anyone saw. I think just the circumstances around the game, I don't think anyone were expecting it, especially to get anything. But again, I don't think anyone were expecting any other teams to get anything either.
I guess I start the beginning of the weekend where so I started watching the Burnley-Watford game, and for the first half, it was pretty much all Watford. I think Burnley had a little spell, but apart from that, Watford deserved to win. Be winning at half time. And then set off to Ellen Road. There was no traffic, and we got to the car park. And I was sat in the car watching, and then 1-1 came up, and I thought, okay, that's not great, but if it finishes like that, it's not too bad. It's only 1 point. They're still behind us. We can work with that. Granted that obviously we were going into play City. The second one went in, and I lost my head.
Yeah.
Got out of the car, went, I'm off for a piss, slammed door, and I went and sat in my seat in the Kop for 45 minutes before kick-off.
And do you know what it is as well? You know, Watford went 1-0 up, and I think after us, Watford have probably got or have got the best record against the bottom 5.
Yeah, apart from us, yeah.
So that kind of, you know, that hope clean onto that, you know, they've gone 1-0 up, they'll see it out because they needed it, really. I mean, I don't think there were any chance of them saving themselves, but they needed that win.
We covered it last week that they'd need to win probably 3 games to be anywhere near. And they out of the 3 games, they needed to win at least this one against Burnley to sort of claw something back. Whereas now they were a point ahead of Norwich, who've gone down now, so they're pretty much down. They're going to have to at least win every game that's left to get somewhere near, and still
need slip-ups as well.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to stay optimistic. It is, given the run of games that we're going through. But you look at, you know, that Burnley result against Norwich. I think everyone thought that loss cemented them going down, and you know, with a change of fortune, it's obviously not the case now. And I think there's still room for improvement, definitely, but there's still room for that optimism and hope as well. And I don't think all is lost. I'll always have that belief until it's mathematically not possible to stay up. And I think that we did see an encouraging performance on Saturday. And I know that there are a lot of people who will look at that and say, well, you know, good performance at this end of the season, it's not quite enough. And, you know, I can appreciate that. But when you look at the team that we're playing against, it's arguably probably one of the best teams in the world who just put 4 past Madrid. You know, it's hard to argue. I think we did everything right.
And even from like I guess it did change a bit because Cooper got injured, but the team selection to me, I thought, I didn't know how it was going to line up, but obviously Struijk were in there, Koch were in there, Cooper were in there, and I'm thinking that even if you go 3 at the back there, which we pretty much kind of did anyway, when it got into the game, that's kind of what we were looking for. When we make this change, going from Bielsa, where it was all about the attacking, and we were never going to change our way of doing it, to being a bit more sort of defensive and trying to stay in a game, which, as much as the result was 4-0 to Man City, I think until the sort of near the end, we were pretty much in that game, and it was quite an even game.
It was. I think City definitely knew they were in a game. We pressed really well high up the pitch. I think, the tactics that Jesse Marsch has spoken about since coming in, about that aggressive, win the ball high up. We kind of saw it work well for the first time, probably since the Leicester game, really. But when they've got £50 million players starting and then another £50 million players come off the bench, you're going to get undone by that quality in the end of the game. I think, losing Cooper in the warm-up were massive in terms of the mentality. I think it showed a good character going into that game, on the back foot already, especially after the performances that he's put in over the last kind of 3 games before that. Just to be solid. And, people might look at that game and see we conceded in the first 15 minutes and it might like we rolled over and let him tickle his belly. But I don't think that was the case. I think we were undone by a set piece, which is, in my opinion, the Big Six bias reffing. I don't think it were a free kick, in my opinion. And you get undone by that. And it's so strange because we've been so good from set pieces lately.
Yeah.
But I think City knew they were in a game all that first half. I think we were really aggressive. I think we were really well. We had his chances. And, on a day like that, it's just easy to see where Rodrigo is a £27 million player. Why is a £27 million player and not a £50 million player like, the likes of what City have got? But it were a good account for itself, and it does give you that little bit more positivity leading into, Arsenal and Chelsea, who seems to be on beach already. It's just, we can't let this just be a statement performance. It needs to be a building block to points now.
Yeah, you'd like to think that if we played like that against, and no disrespect to Arsenal here, but City are better than Arsenal.
Oh, they're a level above. I mean, Liverpool and City are a level above the rest of the Premier League, and it shows in the title.
A level above everyone in Europe as well. But I mean, it looks like they're going to be the 2 European finalists if everything goes the City's way tonight. But going into that, and I just want to touch on the referee, actually. Like you said, that the referee didn't help us at all, and mainly I want to. I'm not saying he's been good by any stretch, but I want to sort of defend Junior Firpo a bit. That he comes into this team again. It's from an injury, and then he gets a really soft yellow card early on.
Yeah,
and that means you're up against. I mean, Foden at times, and I can't remember Sterling. It was Sterling on that wing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It were you're up against them two. Like Foden, obviously drifting white, and Sterling, who's one of England's best players and one of the best players in the Premier League. And you're struggling from 4th minute on if you yellow carded, then you cannot put a tackle in, because as soon as they skip over you and go down, you're off. And that kind of thing, it just adds to the Cooper injury, which I don't know if we've heard anything as yet, whether he's going to be out.
I think he needs a scan, but no one knows the kind of length of.
Right, yeah. Well, that doesn't sound great then, does it? But yeah, you've got just all them situations happen, and then we let in a. It was, I guess you can say, it was poor defending from a free kick from a set piece.
Yeah.
I think it was Phillips that got sort of beat in the air, but they've got a lot of people who can. I suppose they're not known for being a set piece scoring side, but they've got a lot of players that can punish you in that position. I mean, look at the side. I mean, I was quite surprised at the size of Rodri.
Yeah,
he's a big fella.
Yeah, he's massive.
And you compare it to, I mean, Calvin's not small, I'd say,
no.
in terms of the Premier League, but Rodri is huge, and that were a big blow, because we were doing well, we were defending well, passing well, and making chances as well. And I guess that's his other letdown, that we need something to go for us to have that confidence in them kind of situation. I mean, I think the first one was Rodrigo breaking through towards the south stand. And it was clear he never had enough pace to sort of break away. He was always going to get caught, because he's not the fastest of runners, but he seemed to just lack a bit of composure as well, as to sort of play Rafinha through, while I think there was someone else on the other side.
Yeah.
And it's just that sort of little thing now, that little decisions like that, because we're in the situation we are in, where they're trying to sort of make something, they make the wrong decision. Rather than maybe under Bielsa 4 or 5 months ago, we'd have played the easy ball because that's just what we were used to playing, and there was no pressure on us losing as such.
Yeah, and I think you picked up on the confidence point. I think that is massive. I think just take yourself back to the Watford game, and the first goal were a bit of magic from Raphinha, which is what he is.
Mm.
The second goal was a mistake at the back by them. 2-0 up. That's when Jack Harrison is able to provide that strike into the bottom corner. But I think it takes this squad, the game, to go their way, to be more comfortable, for the shackles to come off, and then to be able to express himself. I think under Bielsa, they were always intense and always at it, and I feel like there were always one or two confidence players that needed to be in the kind of right frame of mind and form. Bamford especially.
Yeah.
Whereas now, I think because everything's changed, we're a lot more cautious, and I think they need to grow into a game now. I think under Bielsa, we went in all guns blazing from minute off, and I think under Marsch, he wants to control the game a little bit more rather than create it into this kind of basketball match. And I think we need to look at getting hold of the ball, getting a feel for the ball, string a few passes together. Frustrate teams. I know people might not like that phrase, but you do need to frustrate teams just to get a little bit of momentum on your side, and then when you break and these chances come, you need to start taking them. And once you take one chance, I feel like it all falls into place, and that is a massive difference. And you know what? I did like seeing us line up with a back three.
Yeah,
I liked it. I liked how we looked. I liked how we pressed. I liked the intensity in the squad. I liked everything we did, which is weird to say after 4-0 loss, but I think there were a lot to see that gives you hope. And there's probably not many people at the minute who can credit Marsch for being or Marsch ball being the most attractive. But it clearly does work, and I think everyone knows we're a couple of players off, and we're still in the development stages. And I think if you can take anything from this performance, it's that little glimmer of hope that if we keep building on these performances and we can be as pragmatic as we have been, because we've shown a number of solutions to problems by different formations, different tactics. And do you know what? Yeah, if he's adamant on playing narrow, that's probably how it's going to go. But you need to judge that when we've got players who can play narrow and in tight spaces. And I don't think we have quite got that yet. There's arguments to be said for both sides. Play to his strengths. We've got wingers play to that strength. But if you want to coach a new style, everyone loved Bielsa because he stuck to his style, because he stuck to what he
his
believed
principles
in.
and stuff like that. Yeah.
And they didn't change, and that were his downfall at times, but that's why everyone loved him, and that's why everyone looks up to him.
And that's how you get a team playing cohesively. You do the same things over and over again. If you're doing different things, I suppose you do have to do different things in certain games. Like, I guess we wouldn't set up like we did against City, against someone like Watford or Norwich or whatever, but you have to adapt to games like that. But yeah, in the principles of, I guess, attacking, you stick to the same things. And I guess it is frustrating at times where we're used to being so wide. But I guess in other times, I guess another part of it is that we're missing a striker. And I guess that's what I came away with. I thought if we had Bamford playing, it might have been a lot different.
Yeah, I think everyone makes the argument for Joffrey to start games. And, as much as I do I'm a massive advocate of that, I don't think he suits us stylistically and what he wants from a forward in terms of pressing.
Yeah.
I don't think he can lead the line, and I don't think it's any discredit to him. I think he's a fantastic talent, but he looks lost. And I just think that's more of a footballing education that he needs rather than fitness. He's obviously a fit lad.
And he's 20 today?
Yeah.
You've got to remember that. And he maybe needs the time to be 23, 24 and learn that. I mean, there's players that can come in and be 18 and do it, like, I guess, your perfect example. And someone who Joffrey's been sort of compared with in Wayne Rooney, that Wayne Rooney probably couldn't have done the same thing at 20, even though he was probably a higher level than what Joffrey is, obviously, because Joffrey's not playing Wayne Rooney was at 18, 17, whatever it was. He needs to learn that side of his game, and that only comes with becoming an older footballer. And it's just not what we need right now, but he's brilliant to bring on and give a team a spark and cause a problem. I mean, he still caused problems when he came on against City.
Yeah.
But our main problem is we just don't have, and I've been thinking about this since the game, really, that it was fine under Bielsa that we didn't buy another striker because we'd always find an option. But I'm looking at it and I was thinking that is the worst decision we've probably made, and that could be the one that costs us. We all right, we needed midfielders, but we've sort of got by. But not having a backup to Bamford in this season, that has been the killer, I think.
Yeah. I think you look at it stylistically, we've had the argument with Bamford ever since he came in, Bamford or Roof, Bamford or Nketiah, Bamford or Rodrigo. And even though Bamford might frustrate you at times over the last 3-4 years, he's always proven the case that he's the one who fits the bill when it comes to what we want. And he's a nightmare for centre halves. He's quick, he's good on the ball, he's strong, he holds it up extremely well. He's not a unicorn in terms of a footballer. He's pretty standard, but in terms of what we've not got anyone near the capability to do what he can do.
Him doing them things that he does brings a lot of other people into the game. Like, people were scoring goals last year because he was doing his pressing, or he was occupying defenders and making space for other people to do and take advantage. And that was the sort of clear, obvious thing that whoever's taking that decision, and I don't want to get into who was, but I guess whoever's sort of sat there between Bielsa and the board and Orta and said, "Oh, it's okay, we don't need a striker." I just think that's now. It's great in hindsight, isn't it? I mean, if we'd have had Bamford all season and he scores 20 odd goals, then you're not saying it. But I think it's a learning curve for us as a club as well, that if we do stay up, you cannot rely on just one player per position.
I think there's a naivety that comes with that, though, because you look at Bamford and you look at the squad at the start of the season, the backup with Tyler Roberts. Now, I know he's injured, but he's never really had an effect or an impact on the game. It's the consistent ongoing argument between Leeds fans. First of all, what is Tyler Roberts? Is he a winger? Is he a striker? Is he a number 10? And, just what really is his level? Now, he got injured and he could have proved us all wrong without that injury. No one knows. But so far he hasn't. And I think that you're quite right to said, going into that season with Roberts as a backup striker, it's still not quite good enough for me, in my opinion.
No.
There needs to be someone of some kind of caliber. And, despite what people might think, I don't think Rodrigo were ever bought in to be a number 9. I don't think there were ever plans for him to be a striker under Bielsa.
No.
Because
otherwise he'd have played there, wouldn't he? I mean, Bamford's been out enough. To do that. And I guess the same argument is that with Joffrey, that Bielsa and Marsch haven't started Joffrey regularly to say that he is going to be good enough to put. I mean, putting him in now, it might work, but if they're not doing it already, then what's to say they've got the confidence in him to do that sort of thing? And that's not to knock a young, decent player.
It's not. In fact, it's probably the most sensible thing to do and best for his development, in not putting all that weight of expectation on his shoulders, because he's a young talent at 20 years old today. Putting that weight of expectation, it makes or break players. And it's, now I'm definitely not making comparisons here, but Phil Foden at Manchester City, he was always in and around that squad from the World Cup, Under-17s World Cup win.
Yeah.
Everyone knew he was. Everyone expected him to get more and more game time. And I think there came a time where they were surprised that he weren't as involved as he was.
Yeah.
But he's paying dividends now. You look at him now, he's an England starter and he's probably one of the first names on that team.
And seeing him at Ellen Road, I mean, he's unreal.
Exactly.
everything he does. I mean, I think I turned around to one of my mates and said he wins England the World Cup.
Yeah, and that's what it isn't. Like I say, I'm by no means making comparisons, but what I will say is that is the right way to develop a footballer. You know, it's not loading pressure on them. It's let them naturally find the feet into a squad. You know,
and I guess just to sort of, that's where we've been before as a football club. That it's always been, oh well, there's good young players here, rely on them, and we don't need to be going back there because, or we shouldn't be going back there because players need to be nurtured and not relied on. I mean, you can go back to sort of 2015, 14 when it was, we had to rely on Charlie Taylor coming through, Sam Byram, Lewis Cook, Alex Mowatt, Calvin Phillips, sort of all them. When you had sort of experienced pros that should have been leading the sort of the team, and your youngsters sort of play off them, like from them.
Without sounding like a really jealous ex-girlfriend, them players that you just listed, where are they now?
Yeah.
You know, Alex Mowatt is a championship footballer, but he struggled and had to drop down to League One. Sam Byram plays for Norwich, but that's Norwich, and they're terrible.
Yeah.
Charlie Taylor is probably the best of them all, playing consistently for Burnley. And Lewis Cook's probably been unlucky with injuries.
Yeah.
But my point is that throwing all the expectation and all the weight of the world on them so early, getting those moves, hasn't necessarily paid dividends. You know, Lewis Cook for me he made an England appearance, and he should have kicked on from there, and he should have been an England player. Injuries haven't gone his way, and you probably can't blame that on the move. But you know, there's certain things and there's certain factors. But I think they are good examples of why not to rely on youth and why we need to start, buying what we really need and not making a player into what we need or relying on a youngster, because we're trying to make Daniel James a number 9. It's never going to work. I don't see really where he fits in the system under Marsch, to be honest, and it feels like a complete waste of money because of, under a team that plays with wingers who are expansive is what you want, is a workhorse. But if we're looking at play narrow, his technical ability is not really going to get him very, very far in this system, unfortunately.
No, I agree. That'll be interesting. Speaking of sort of older players, I guess the worst news of the weekend is Stuart Dallas's injury. And I guess it kind of epitomizes the season, doesn't it? That I think it was 171 consecutive games he's played for us.
Yeah.
And it's just I forgot what I was saying. No, it can't be 170. It must be 71.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Well, I think he's played in every Premier League game, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So it just sums up this season that, I mean, in a way, it was sort of a nothing challenge. I guess it was a bit of a 50-50, but he maybe didn't need to go into that challenge. But yeah, he gets a knee injury, and I think from what's been said, it looks like he's not going to be playing for the rest of 2020. So 2022, sorry.
I think as well, just, talking about players that you can lean on, we've heavily lent on Stuart Dallas, and he's been an absolutely unbelievable, signing for us. And I don't think anyone would have seen that when he signed from Brentford under Uwe Rosler. And I think he's just been a credit to this squad, and he's shown a real fight and a real desire to be there. And I think he's probably one of the highlights of this, last 3 to 4 years at Leeds United. Is
definitely
embodied that spirit. And it is a massive loss, because you haven't just lost a right back or a left back or a centre midfielder or a left winger or a right winger, you've just lost that personality in and around the place as well. And he's got the
experience you need. I mean, like you said, coming from where Stuart Dallas has come from, where it sort of came from Brentford, he was never really a starter as such as well. He was in and out of teams, and he was a winger that never really. I mean, I don't think if you went back sort of to that period where he first came, I don't think anyone was sort of picking him.
No,
but he was there, and he always put a shift in and everything like that. And then under Bielsa, he grasped it by sort of bull by the horns, didn't he? And to change into the player he has done has been brilliant. And I hope that, obviously, I do think the club will do the right by him and sort of he'll be here through his injury, and then we'll see where he is after the injury. And if he can still play, I'm sure he'll be welcome around. But I guess who knows what position the club will be in at that point.
I don't think anyone knows. I think it's still very much up in the air, We might not go on and get any more points. We might go on and get another 12 points, and Burnley might not get another point. Like I said, the league's so unreliable. These results might have gone out their way this week, but they can go our way quickly, and it's a completely different picture. We sneak a win on Sunday, and them two teams lose, Everton and Burnley. The table looks completely different going into the last 3-4 games for Everton in the season. So it's gonna be a drag, but it's definitely not over. And based on the fight that we've shown this year, especially in the games under Marsch at Norwich and at Everton, this is probably going to go down to the final day.
Yeah. Well, before we sort of go on to the other games, I guess we need to move on to the Everton one, don't we, and how that weekend sort of panned out. So I'm going to do a few shout outs. So Jay Patel of the All Leeds Aren't We Facebook group says, good evening, lads. Matty Harrison says, great title. I was in a horrible mood for the whole weekend. Yeah, me too. Acom Tony, hey up lads and lasses, All Leeds Aren't We. Jimmy says he thinks we did quite well against City. Just that, and that Everton and Burnley are back from the dead. So yeah, moving on to sort of, just before we move on to it, I guess the other talking point from the Leeds Man City game was the Yorkshire display.
Yeah.
Which when I first saw that, I think they tweeted it on Friday night. That obviously the picture of the East Stand with all these pieces of paper. I thought it's a bit random just saying Yorkshire. I mean, I know we've done like Together before and stuff like that, and I don't think they quite explained it very well what it was about, because it seemed to be sort of something to do with Ukraine. I don't know if it was Yorkshire sort of backs Ukraine because it was the sort of yellow and blue colours, and they had the Ukraine shirts, which have done these silly NFTs and whatever. I guess we'll talk about them in a bit. But yeah, and then you're going into a game like this where Leeds are desperate to sort of, I guess it would be the same in any game, to be fair. You've got all these pieces of paper and they literally all just got thrown on the pitch.
I mean, a 5:30 kickoff on a Saturday when everyone's had the chance to spend the time in a pub, it's never going to go the right way. I didn't have a piece of paper, so I didn't throw any paper.
No, I didn't either.
But I did quite enjoy seeing Grealish get paggered by a piece of paper.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was amazing that the paper just kept coming. Like there was loads on the pitch, and I think at one point they stopped the game so that they could clear it off. And so at that point, more got thrown on.
It got to like half time, and I thought, right,
that must be it now.
Yeah, there's surely not enough paper to last this full game, and still at the full time there were pieces of paper flying from the stand. So
yeah. I saw the video, the corner one where Jack Grealish goes into the southeast corner, and there's one kid, he just must have had like a pile of them, and he's just constantly just throwing it, and Grealish is laughing, and I guess there were a bit of Gary Neville whining about it and stuff like that, and I suppose there's a lightheartedness to it, that it's just a bit of paper and it's not harmful. Yeah, people shouldn't be throwing things because it just leads to people then throwing heavier objects in a wrong manner, which we don't condone at Talking Shop. But yeah, it was funny. But if you're looking at the club and thinking, why have you done that? That's just, what were you expecting?
Yeah, I think the club are now notorious for making stupid decisions. And that was...
Well, I guess I don't want to hammer the club because we're in a position where we don't need to be hammering the club right now. We could save that if we get relegated or stay up. But it's been a week of bad decisions with sort of the whole Ukraine thing. I kind of just read half of it and then just closed it off on my phone, the NFT thing. And I saw some of the price. I mean, some of these NFTs, which are nothing, they're just a virtual card that I think they were going for like 700 quid.
Yeah, I don't get it.
And who's paying for that? A virtual card? I mean, what is there any value to it? I mean, if you're buying a shirt, a match worn shirt, and it's signed and you've got like a certificate with it and stuff like that, I can understand that you're getting something from it. But these NFTs, I mean, as a tight Yorkshireman, I'm thinking, why are people spending a lot of money on that? And I get it's for a good cause, but you could do 20,000 of these things and sell them for a tenner.
Yeah.
And then everyone gets something, and all it is literally a virtual card.
I think it's
but these are a couple of £100 at least.
Yeah, so I think we've seen a lot of the bigger clubs do it.
Yeah.
And it's trendy. And it's one of them things that we kind of just doing to fit in, I guess.
Basically, am I too old to understand this NFT thing?
No, at the age of 24, I can't comprehend it either. And I think it's stupid. But, we are where we are, and people do spend £900 on a cartoon figure for your computer. So, yeah, I don't know. But
mental.
It like you quite rightly said, it's a stupid thing to do. And I think, a one-off shirt or a charity auction of a shirt is much more appealing than a fake card that, no one else can own, but if someone else can screenshot, it's crazy. But yeah, 21st century for you.
I just want to, on the throwing paper, David Lofthouse has said through paper at Rafinha. To be honest, that was just, I saw that because that was sort of the cop end, sort of towards the end of the game. And that was just one idiot, and I don't really understand what. I don't know if he was just pissed or what, but it was just stupid. Yeah. I don't understand why he thought what he thought he was doing and why he thought it was a good thing to do, and he got truly abused.
Yeah, I think he falls in the category of Bob, who abused Click on Twitter. He falls under that category.
Fuck off, Bob.
Yeah, fuck off, paper twat.
So back onto that weekend. So we get beat by City, and as much as that was not a 4-0 game, I think you're playing City and you think we've played well. Goals don't really make a difference this stage in the season. We are well behind on goal difference. It's irrelevant.
Yeah, we are salvaging that.
Yeah, so it could have been 1-0, it could have been 20-0. It doesn't really matter. We lost.
Yeah.
And that's how I was taking that. So then, we're going to the next day, and Chelsea are going to Goodison Park. And I started watching that game. I went to my mates for drinks, and I think after like 20 minutes, I thought, I don't really want to watch this. I went and sat outside, and I just saw his sort of TV was just in sort of glance of sort of when I looked inside, and I saw a goal, and I saw Everton, Richarlison running away, and I thought, oh God, this is awful.
So this is me being extremely naive, but I was also out or at a family event having drinks, and I wasn't watching the game because I couldn't. But someone came into the room and said, "Oh, it's 1-0," and I celebrated.
Yeah,
and he went, "No, to Everton." So that's how confident I were that Chelsea were going to win that game.
Yeah, I think I was. I mean, it's everything that sort of how it's going. It's just going against us. That you expect the European champions to go against a relegation side and beat them. And granted, Chelsea haven't been great in the last few weeks and what have you, and they don't really have a lot of form. But wow,
Everton is such a weird. Everton have been a weird one all season because they have got. They ain't got a fantastic squad, but they have got a mid-table squad.
Yeah.
And they've just fallen apart. So for them to start picking up results, it's not really surprising because, they've got the players and the capabilities to do it. But Burnley, that's the biggest shock.
Yeah.
They have nothing. They've had nothing for the last few years. And somehow they've ground out results like this.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
It just makes you wonder what are we missing? What do we need to do? We never seem to get that look.
And that's what it comes out. It is looking at that, like you said, we've gone through. Cooper gets injured, Dallas gets injured, and nothing. It seems this weekend, and that's why I've sort of named it the worst weekend ever. Nothing at all went for us this weekend.
No.
And how many more weekends like that can we have? Because I think if we have one more where things, I mean, if we lose this weekend and Burnley and Everton win, then we're Schitt's Creek sort of stuff, aren't we?
Panic
Without
station.
a paddle.
Yeah. I mean, ideally going into Chelsea, you'd like to pick up at least a point, but I think at this point it's out of our hands, and we kind of need to start relying on the teams around us to do a bit shit as well.
Yeah. And I guess this is what I'm kind of. You look at all these situations and look at the table and who's got to play and everything, and I think we've got a big mountain to climb here. But then I'm sort of half as well that there's that hope there that something has to go for us at some point.
Well, yeah, it does.
And hopefully, I guess in these last 4 games that happens. And that's kind of what we're clinging on to now.
You know,
because the players are good enough.
Yeah,
I think the players can do it. I think the tactics are there with Marsh. But it's just whether it goes for us.
There's no easy game in the Premier League, but there's it's just you can't even look at the form table anymore, because it's at that part of the season where, you know, Aston Villa, who are now comfortable, they've got to play Burnley twice. Anything can happen there. You know, does Steven Gerrard have a point to prove over a poor run of form, or do they just roll over and have the belly tickled and just, you know, they're safe? You just don't know.
Is it? All right, I probably need to check the table, but there's 2 teams on 40 who, if everyone starts winning again, could sort of get dragged into this. I know Wolverhampton, Southampton, maybe.
I think, is it Villa and Southampton? Is it?
Yeah. So I guess sort of clutching at straws that they're games that
matter.
Yeah, and they probably have to win. If Villa win both them games, then they're safe.
I'll be honest. I don't think my heart could take a game against Everton or Burnley in this last run of 4 games. You know,
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be able to cope with that.
Yeah, I agree.
Do they play each other? No, they don't play each other, do
they?
No, they don't. Everton
Watford.
Yeah,
which I guess, I mean, anything could happen, like we just said with the Chelsea game, that with Watford pretty much relegated, you have to expect that Everton win that. So does that make it? I mean, that puts Everton. If you automatically give Everton the 3 points there, that's them above us.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can keep looking at all these situations. I mean, maybe it doesn't happen. Maybe they lose. I don't know if Watford think that they can go win 3 games. I guess you have to do in that situation, or whatever, 3 or 4 games. Yeah. It's weekend on weekend now, isn't it? That sometimes it'll go well, sometimes it might not. It just goes to the wire, game by game, head to head.
I think as well, you know, I said that we kind of need to rely on teams dropping points as well, but essentially, you know, we still need to focus on grabbing points where they are, and it is literally points and 3 points, and where we are now, I think anything counts. We just need to stay ahead of the curve, and again, as long as we do what we need to do, and other teams don't, then we're safe. I know that's so easy to say, but it's not over until it's over. I'd have much liked to go into this run of games starting from City being safe.
Yeah.
But we aren't that lucky, unfortunately.
No. So sort of to close off this weekend, what is the worst weekend? This weekend just gone, or the Easter weekend where we lost to Wigan and did we lose to Brentford? I can't, but we kind of pretty much threw away automatic promotion.
I think you have to contextualize it in that. Did it hurt that we missed out on automatics at the time? Yeah, but we made the playoffs, so they're always saving grace.
Yeah.
Whereas this time, is the consequences higher? I guess. You know, does going down really mean make or break? Because I don't think it does.
No, yeah, because we have been, and I'm not saying this is a good scenario, but because we've been up in the Premier League, where as finances are better than they will have ever have been and stuff like that, excuse me, and going back into the Championship, I mean, we've got a lot of good young players. If we keep some of the older heads, I mean, there's players that will have to go, and I guess Rafinha, Phillips, Rodrigo, the players on high wages and stuff like that. We're in a position where we should be able to, and if Marsh stays and we carry on with that, or whichever sort of route we want to go down, manager-wise, but we have that money there to be able to, and the attraction now because we've been in the Premier League and everything that sort of comes with that, that we can attract players and build a squad to bring straight back up.
Rather than last time we got relegated where shit really hit the fan and
we had to sell everyone.
We were on a downward spiral.
We literally didn't have any players.
Yeah.
And I think, well, we did have more than Kevin Blackwell and Gary Kelly, as he said. So we had a few youth players and then people like Eric Backer and Michael Dubry and stuff like that. But still, yeah, I think we're not going to go down and it be 16 years again.
No.
Because we're not that club anymore.
No.
And I guess if you're looking at that situation, that we go down, we are looking to come straight back up. We have to be. It's the worst situation for the situation now, but it's not a hugely bad situation in the long term for the club.
Yeah.
It's workable.
Yeah. But I think just as we were talking, and that loss to 10-man Wigan really does haunt me, so I'd probably say 2019 were worse.
Yeah.
Just from a personal point of view, because it really, really hurt.
I guess the thing that hurts at this weekend is that it's nothing we've had control of.
But you got beat by, champions elect Man City, who are just now challenging for a place in the final of the Champions League, not 10-man Wigan.
Yeah.
So, we've come a long way.
Yeah.
If anyone wants a positive outlook, we've definitely come a long way.
Yeah. So on to the relegation battle in the Premier League this weekend. Burnley play Villa on Saturday at 5:00. We play Arsenal on Sunday, and Leicester play Everton on Sunday, both at 4:00. Really, we need Villa win, and a Leicester win, don't we? And then can we get something from Arsenal? And it's been the week. So in 2003, we beat Arsenal 3-2 at Highbury.
Mm-hmm.
If we can channel something like that again, that'd be a massive boost. I know that he's asking a lot, but
I mean, I'd just take an edgy 1-0. Sorry.
Yeah, I'd take a 1-0. I'd probably take a draw as well. If we can draw, if we draw against Arsenal, I know this is sort of looking forward, but like draw against Arsenal and get 3 against Chelsea, that's a good sort of result out of the 2 games.
Do you think Burnley playing on the Saturday before is beneficial to us?
I do think if they lose and they're still on the same points, then it's something for us to sort of, we can go ahead of them 3 points.
Yeah.
And I think that is huge. Whether that, I don't know how that sort of relays as a football team, what you're kind of thinking in that situation. But yeah, I think if there's points to, if we can go ahead, even if it's just by a point, it's kind of like a mini win, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like, if going into this now, us talking, you're saying, you need to win, but Burnley lose to Villa and we get a point at Arsenal and we go a point above.
Yeah,
it's that marginal win, and then it's the psychological thing of, well, we're above them again.
Yeah,
but again,
and it's like we need to be points ahead of teams because level on points isn't good for us.
No. The goal difference is an extra point against us. So yeah.
We need to be above teams on points, and that if they lose and we draw, brilliant, and if Everton then go on to lose to Leicester, even better. I was thinking about the sort of the lineup against Arsenal. Would you go very similar to what we played against City?
Yeah, I think it's a building block. I think Arsenal, under Mikel Arteta are very much a B-Tech Man City in the way they play. I think we just need to frustrate the life out of them. I think if we frustrate the life out of them, we get into half-time at 0-0 and we look to get something on the break. I never thought I'd say this about a Leeds United team, especially in this era after what we've been through with Bielsa, but that's where we're at now. And it's all about controlling and managing games. And it's like what I said, it's that confidence of getting in at halftime 0-0. That brings confidence to the players, and it kind of releases the shackles for them to just go at it in the second half and just get something.
Especially away from home as well. I mean, I liked I guess we have to move it around a little bit. I mean, I don't want how we finished against City with Rafinha at right wing back, but obviously you can play Ayling at right wing back, have sort of 3 centre backs, which would be Koch, who's did you put on the notes that as he deserves a run at centre back? I think he's played really well there.
I think he was really good, yeah.
Yeah. So Koch plays there. Llorente's had a niggle, but I think we discussed it last week that he's very much a bomb scare at times. And as much as he's a decent player, I just don't think the confidence of the team needs him in the team right now.
I'm so torn on him because as a defender, he's so flaky. He's soft.
Yeah,
I don't like that. He goes down over nothing. It's very much a European culture that we've seen. Especially in the Champions League. Players falling around and brain injuries, and it's probably normal to what he's been used to. But I don't like it. But I think I've said it before. His eye for a pass is pretty phenomenal, and he is an asset and can break down teams in just one pass if it goes right. But again, like I've also mentioned, he's only an £18 million footballer, and that vision and that execution isn't always aligned, and it can cause us problems. And I think that he's not very good under pressure, whereas I think that's where Cooper comes in, and he's very good on the ball, and he's very calm and collected.
Yeah. So if picking, obviously, Koch is there as one of the centre backs. Cooper, definitely, if he's fit.
He's there, yeah.
If not, it'd have to be Struijk on the... Is he left-footed?
Yeah.
Yeah, Struijk on the left-hand side. And then I'd go with Charlie Cresswell.
Yeah.
Because he brings the height, he brings the aggression. And as much as we said about throwing young lads in the deep end, I think he's maybe the character that we kind of need at the back there.
And he's built like a man as well.
Yeah.
He's got the frame, and as the cliche goes, he's a Leeds fan and he will want it more than anyone on that football pitch.
Yeah. Mark Rowlinson said Cresswell as well. Yeah.
If anyone wants us to stay up, it's him.
Yeah. And then, obviously, I went off about Firpo earlier. Firpo plays left back because we haven't really got any other choice.
Well, Jack Harrison, based on what we saw on Saturday.
Yeah.
And that's not,
I don't. Yeah. I mean, if you're picking a team to start, you've got to go with a proper left back for me.
Yeah.
As much as Firpo's not been brilliant, I'm not saying he has been any good, but I think he needs a run of games and some confidence. And maybe, we don't need that situation of someone trying to play into some confidence right now, but he is a full-blown left back, and we need to sort of just round pegs, round holes kind of thing.
Yeah, but
go with that.
An early booking against Saka don't help. If that is the case.
Don't get an early booking.
Yeah. If you're listening, fair play.
And then obviously, I guess it'd be Phillips and Klitsch in the middle. It'd be more like a 5-2-3 for me. Then you've got your 3 attackers in. I'd play James because of pace. Rodrigo and Rafinha.
I think it's harsh to leave Harrison out.
It is, and I agree, but I just think if we're playing as sort of compact and low block as the trendy word is, you need that pacey outlet, and I think we did miss that at times before James came on against City, where if you're playing someone through, and I know he's not the best sort of one-on-one, but if you've got that pace, it kind of just makes defenders think twice.
Yeah.
Whereas if you Rodrigo running through, then you think Ben White's quite pacey, that Gabriel's quite pacey, and they've got some decent pace at the back. They'd be able to deal with that. But if you've got James, you've got another thing to think about.
Yeah.
And that's why I'd just go with James over Harrison on that, because as much as I've slated Harrison before, I mean, you look at his numbers and he probably could have done better than that this season and last season.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he always puts the effort in. And yeah, it's harsh, but yeah, just on pace alone, I'd go with James.
It is valid. I think he's definitely got the pace to terrify defenders. I just think that he needs to relax in certain situations and just maybe play the easy ball rather than, looking for the killer pass or just running into touch like he has been guilty of doing.
So let's get some predictions on the Arsenal game.
Raggy's predictor.
Obviously, Raggy's not with us again this week. Obviously, got a lot going on at home, moving house and stuff like that, and work. So yeah, he'll be back hopefully next week. We'll see. So yeah, Arsenal away. What are you going with, Ben?
A 1-0 Leeds win.
And you'd take that all day long. Definitely. I'm going to go 2-1 Leeds because that's my usual one. But yeah, I guess we'll see. As long as,
honestly, right, if it's 0-0 in 89th minute and a ball flies into box and it comes off Ben White's left arse cheek and falls into goal, I won't care.
I think Ben White would celebrate that.
I think he would as well. I'm going to be in a lot of pain on Sunday when I watch that game after an half marathon. Standing up in a pub, which I will be. So don't put me through any more pain, Leeds United.
If I'd run a half marathon, I'd be getting someone to get me a seat.
Yeah. Well, last time I ran a half marathon, I ended up it was rescheduled to September last year, and I booked tickets for me and my dad to go to a gig. So I ran a half marathon, and then that night I went to a gig at the O2 Academy and stood up for 4 hours, which led to
a lot of pain.
3 days off work.
Yeah.
So yeah, Leeds United, please don't put me through any more pain.
No. Speaking about your half marathon.
Yeah.
So Sunday, Leeds half marathon, is it?
Yeah. Leeds half marathon. Me and my girlfriend are doing it for Samaritans. So I did it last year as kind of a personal target for a personal achievement. Obviously, everyone knows that I lost quite a lot of weight and I got into my running. And now I've done that, I kind of wanted it to use it for good and for a positive reason. And me and my girlfriend are both massive advocates of mental health and the work that Samaritans have done, especially over the last kind of 2 years during lockdowns. Without sounding too cheesy, they are superheroes. They save lives, and the work they do is incredible. Life hasn't been the easiest, especially for me as well. I've had my own struggles in the last few years, and luckily I've never had to seek help from these guys. But there is people who can't cope, and they do save them. Yeah. So it's all for a good cause. We're more than ready to do it. We've got a Samaritan t-shirts through the post this week. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Raggy's also going to be there, so it'll be good to see Rags as well. But yeah, and again, I signed up for the Leeds Marathon yesterday next year, so this is kind of the
training for that.
Yeah, the starting block for that, and I go on holiday the week later, so I can put my feet up. But yeah, like I say, I like to see it as that I've got a platform, and I'd like to use it for good.
Yeah.
That's what it's for. So yeah, I'll tweet out the links again, probably for the remainder of the week, and any donations will be greatly appreciated and go into a very worthy and good cause.
Yep, they will. So on to sort of other football. I mean, it's a big week in the Champions League,
which we're watching now.
Yeah, we've got the Real Madrid Man City game on. I think both teams have had quite a few chances. There was the Liverpool-Villarreal game last night, which seemed very crazy. I watched it sort of from the last sort of half an hour.
Yeah.
Because I went out. I think Villarreal went 2-0. It was 2-0 to Liverpool in the first leg.
Yeah.
Villarreal brought it back to 2-2. And then I think Liverpool brought Diaz on, and he just ran the show from what I hear.
It looks like their keeper made a bit of a mess or something. And
very Kiko Casilla-esque.
Yeah, and it's cost them it's only cost them a place in the final of the Champions League.
Yeah, not quite a playoff semi-final, a playoff final, but yeah, very similar.
I think credit where credit's due for what the work that Emery's done with Villarreal, though, because to get them in a position of competing at that level, I think they're not very high up in the league table from what I gather, and it's not been pretty. But I don't think at the minute, in terms of European football, Spanish football isn't that pretty at the minute. You look at Villarreal, you look at Atletico Madrid. You've only really got Madrid and probably
not even Barcelona this year. They've not been. Yeah.
So I think it's a credit, but it's Liverpool and Man City are the two powerhouses in European football at the minute.
Yeah.
And I'd be shocked if City got knocked out here, to be quite honest. I think it'd be a fantastic final. But I think we all say it is just testament to what is going on in British football at the minute, because the standard has risen massively. And I think it runs through the leagues, which is crazy to even say. But even I often dip into non-league football, and the standard in non-league football is so much better as well.
Yeah,
and it just sets the tone and then sets tone for youth development and so on and so forth. So for us to be the highest of the high in the game, it can only work wonders for us, and especially going into a World Cup year as well.
It kind of feels like it's becoming England's time again. I mean, as I touched on with Phil Foden for the World Cup, that's sort of 6 months away now.
Yeah,
and like I said, you've got two English teams that look like to be in the Champions League final. If things stay as they are, City will go through to that. You've got Leicester and West Ham in the
Europa League and Conference League.
Conference League, and that there's been years where English teams haven't got anywhere near that, and I guess it's credit to the FA and all they've done. I mean, you can go back to sort of Germany 2006, where Germany had that spell where all their players came through and stuff like that, and they were the top side, and then Spain had their part. And we've always sort of, through my sort of life, being 33-year-old, obviously we got to the semi-finals of the Euro 96, but since then we've never really done much as a nation. And as well, I guess the Premier League has had its little spells. Obviously, Man United winning European Championships, and Chelsea and Liverpool.
Yeah.
But it seems like right now that the Premier League is good because they attract good players, but also they have good young English players as well. And you can pretty much go through every team, even players like Jared Bowen, who's gone to West Ham, and you can go through every team and they have that basis of young English players.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I was trying to think, like, even down to like people like Zaha at Palace and Elise and Eze, who are they could have played for England at one point. I think Zaha could have. I think he chose Nigeria, didn't he? But there's them players there who most teams. I mean, you even go to Burnley and you've got Pope, and they've all got a player that is playing in the England side, and it's quite spread out through the Premier League.
Yeah,
and it's great to see, and I do genuinely think England will go on and win the World Cup.
Yeah, they've built over the last couple of tournaments, and the players available and the players coming through. The arguments are always there for England having probably one of the strongest squads, and I really do hope so. And I think it's no coincidence that this time has come in when you've got managers like Klopp and Guardiola in the Premier League, because it sets a precedent, it sets a standard.
Yeah,
and
I guess that's the only way that English football is being let down, that there isn't good enough English coaches.
I think there is potential, but you are right. There's not someone who's top of the game just yet. But I know it's a bit of a weak shout, but you look at Potter and how he goes about his business at Brighton.
Cooper, who's done brilliant at Forest this year.
But stylistically, there's definitely a change. These are coaches who want to play football, who want to bring in, youth, who want to, find the advantages in the small margins and play to opposition's weaknesses as well. And I think this generation of coaches coming through are good for the game. You look at the job, like say Cooper's done at Forest, they were laying pretty much flat bottom of the championship, and they've just missed out on automatic promotion, but they're still up there. So I think all in all, English football's in pretty safe hands at the minute, and I think looking at the World Cup, it's not a bad shout for us to go on and win it. I think we can build the momentum and we can have the right preparations. By that I mean no major injuries. I think he puts in a strong position. I think the only thing with the World Cup that's a bit strange is, the time of year, it kind of throws it off a little bit. And the climate.
I think that maybe it'd suit an English team though as well. Like, you're playing in November where they'll have had a couple of months sort of playing Premier League football to get into that.
Yeah.
Sort of whereas you're going into a World Cup in the summer where you've played a full season, you've had maybe 1 or 2 weeks break, and you're going at it again.
Yeah.
If you've had this summer, granted, I guess the summer's a bit shorter this year because we're finishing sort of end of May.
Yeah.
I think we start sort of beginning of August, don't we, again? But yeah, they have that rest in the summer, and you have all these players that will come back refreshed and all that. I think it suits. I mean, most of European teams, I guess it'd suit. But especially English, because they get that rest and they're not doing anything else and they've been sort of warmed up into November with a good few months of football.
No, I agree.
So we should move on from that and get the favourite features.
Shit out of the week.
Something off actually, just on sort of other football and European football. Mino Raiola passed this week, which
twice.
Well, yeah, he died once, came back to life.
It is Easter. Well, is it Easter? No, that will last.
Yeah, a bit late for Easter, only. And then he sadly died a couple of days later. It's gonna cause. I'm quite interested to see how this sort of plays out. I mean, he's the agent of a lot of the big footballers.
Yeah,
and I don't agree personally with how he goes about things how he went about things as an agent. I think it's money grabbing sort of. I mean, you can understand they want to get as much money as possible, but yeah, it's not good for football, the money that he was demanding for his clients and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a sad sort of thing, and it'd be interesting to see what happens with these players, whether it was just someone else that sort of takes over that, or whether it's a change in sort of football.
It's a strange one and very unexpected, and this is one of the giants of football and agents who holds the keys to a lot of big players' careers. I think obviously the big one that everyone's probably thinking about is the Haaland situation. He was very much in control of that, and it kind of changes the face of European football in a way. Like you said, there's one thing getting the best deal for agent and player, and then there's what he did, which was kind of drain money out of nowhere,
back clubs into corners and sort of stuff like that. Yeah,
but again, to have the reputation that he had and the players on the books, he must have done something right in his career.
Yeah. So yeah, on to shouts of the week. First one, I think we probably have a winner here in this one. Richarlison for scoring.
Yeah. 2
for being a complete wanker. And 3 for throwing a. Well, I suppose this is a good thing if he gets banned. I don't know if folks come out about that yet. He threw a flare back into the ground, into the stand, which hopefully he gets a 3-match ban because that'll help us a lot.
He's just the thing with Richarlison is he's on every level not a likable character.
No, I wouldn't like him at our team.
No, the the performance against Liverpool summed him up, where he headed the ball and went down with an injury, and then he was about to challenge Thiago, and Thiago did a step over and kind of caught his shin and he rolled on the floor. I just don't have time for it.
No.
So for him to score, which put us in the shit, and then, throw a flare into the stands, which isn't the best idea.
No.
Just kind of sums up him.
I mean, yeah, especially when you've got Leeds fans throwing bits of paper and they're complaining about that, when you've got a player who's throwing a flare back into the stands. I mean, I just don't understand, like, what goes through his head as a player. I mean, they must be taught, like, what to do. I mean, if there's a flare, you leave it, and the fire marshal or whatever it is comes and sort of cleans it. What goes through his head to sort of think, I'm just going to pick that up and launch it back in there? It's just unsafe. Could have hit anyone. I mean, you'll have disabled people and stuff on the front of the stands or in like disabled sections and stuff like that. You could hit an old woman or whatever, or a child. It's just, what a dickhead.
Yeah, penis.
The second one, speaking about throwing things, the second one is the Leeds fan throwing paper at Raf, which we sort of covered earlier. I don't understand what he was trying to do, what his intentions were. It just didn't make sense.
Maybe we were just frustrated, or maybe he just had too much beer. Who knows?
Yeah, probably. I'd probably go on the second. And then, Chelsea and Watford for crumbling.
Which they did. They shit the bed massively.
Properly.
Yeah. I can forgive Watford because they are terrible.
Yeah.
But Chelsea, come on.
Yeah. Like we said, European champions.
Yeah. With a squad that's probably worth close to, £1 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I suppose on Chelsea as well, you've got Roman Abramovich, who, to me, it just looks like he never had any intention to sell. Now he wants his 1.6 billion loan paid back, which he wasn't interested in getting back 2 months ago.
Yeah.
It's just I think it's all a big cover up that he never really wanted to sell. He was just doing it because it looked good.
Yeah.
That he had to sell. Let's just see how this spineless government deals with it.
Yeah.
So who are we going for?
I think based on the conversation we just had, it's probably Richarlison, isn't it?
Yeah. What a dick. So that brings us to an end of episode 190. Possibly back next week. You're on holiday next week.
Yeah, so I've literally gonna have like a 3-week hiatus from podcasting. So
depending on what Raggy's doing next week, we might not be no podcast because no one wants to sit and listen to me on my own.
Well,
so we'll see what happens for podcast 191. Might be that we just.
It might be the relegation pod.
If stuff don't go for us, we might just not bother.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see next week. We're going to go watch the rest of Real Madrid Man City, which is 0-0 at 38 minutes. One thing to say. Sit it.